Welcome and thank you all for coming. One more round of applause. My name is Jay Miles. I'm staff here, also SCA alum, and also went to school with a few of these young, beautiful people. I'm gonna let you all introduce yourselves and say what you did on the movie, if everybody doesn't already know. Be quick and sexy, and then we'll come back. Whoever wants to start.
Wright. Mark Wright, executive producer. Tony, I wrote it with Juel. Right.
Viva Love, producer.
Juel Taylor, director.
Saira Haider, editor.
Brian Vincent Rhodes, storyboard.
This is, very exciting for me. You know, I love, this is amazing to see all you USC people up here, like, doing the damn thing. I really enjoyed the film. Every once in a while, really enjoyed the film, very proud, very excited, and, I hope you're happy to be back and be on this stage. Talking about this film. All right, I'm gonna start out with, this was a wild ride in like a beautiful way. Where did the story, I mean, how did you come up with it? Just where did it come from? Because that's just, what were you thinking about? What made you think about this?
I mean, it was I was like, sure, long time ago, but I think it's kind of a plot origin story, and then also like a theme origin story. Just way too long of a story for it would take up all the Q&A time, but the truncated version of it is we were thinking about this question of this like blame versus responsibility, and thinking about a couple friends of mine, one in particular who had some kind of unfortunate circumstances, kind of outside his control. And it just, kind of bothered me, my reaction to it. Like that. I didn't realize he was depressed until many years later, and kind of that conversation that I had, reconnecting with him, probably 2016, 2017, New Year's. And me and Tony would just sit down and talk. I was just talking about it with Tony, and we had this joke that we had, just in terms of just making this bootleg Scooby-Doo movie. But it wasn't until I had that conversation with him and kind of caught up with my friend and checked in with him and seeing how depressed he was over like the last several years, and seeing how I looked at it like, damn, what you doing, man? Super smart, gregarious. I felt like he wasn't, taking advantage of all his talents in the intervening years since the unfortunate thing happened to him. And so I had like a blind spot that like he was just like incredibly depressed, and so I felt like, super guilty about it, like like a bad friend. And so just thinking about that in terms of control and circumstances, and that the difference between blaming somebody and like holding them responsible, holding them accountable. Basically trying to make some righteous Scooby-Doo shit.
It was righteous.
It was righteous, ratchet.
That's fun. That's funny. It was righteous and ratchet, yes. I just thought that's very interesting to hear where it comes from. And I know it's been a long time, and I've probably talked about this 50 million times, so I'm going to ask similar and different questions. And I hope it still is it still resonating with you, even though it's been a while and you're already working on other stuff. This is gonna have a special place for you.
Me, for sure. I mean, it took so long. It's like I've been, like, you're always gonna look back on the process part because we had a lot of fun making. I mean, that was the best part, was like the making it part, because there's a lot more UNC people than this that worked on it. Yeah. Rob over there, also high, so I saw also high.
Stand up with you.
So the blue and the yellow directed the fried chicken commercial. VFX editor, assistant editor. Yeah, so it was, whole post team up in here, loved it. That's the part that we don't end up remembering, it's just like commiserating in the editing lab, Yeah, I love that. See, that's one of my other questions I was gonna ask you, all of you actually. How did you, I mean, being students, right, our alumni, understanding, first of all, we're just appreciating seeing all of you working together and still connected, because that's what Dean Daly tells us all the time. Look to your left, look to your right. These are the people you're gonna work with for the rest of your life, right? You don't believe that when she says it. You don't believe that. We're all in competition. We're all trying to be the best, and then we see this, and it's like a really amazing, wonderful feeling, especially for alumni. So I would like you all to, if you don't mind, just how did you get connected to the film? How did you stay in touch and start working together again? I don't know, it's really wonderful to see.
I think I'm the only one who didn't go to school with everybody else on the stage. I met Juel at a screening of his short film.
You're still alumni though.
Long time ago. I was still in school. I was still in the Peter Stark program at the time, and I was just like, dude, I loved your film. Like it was a 5.5 minute film, but it had just an impact on me, and I have to work with you. We just kept in touch, became friends, and that's how I met Tony. And Juel like pitched me the idea of what his first feature film was going to be, and I was like, that's crazy. I have to work on that. And I had known Stephen Love through the Stark program as well, who was producing it, and that's just how we all got connected on my, I was at a company called Macro at the time.
Nice.
Juel and I started working together more or less like right as school ended, because like school ends and you think like people are going to give you $50 million like it doesn't happen. And so we did a lot of lighting, we did a lot of sound, and then we just entered all sorts of writing competitions and stuff because we had a ton of time on our hands, and that just kind of what snowballed into writing gigs and stuff. So we ended up just working together 7 days a week for like months and months on end, doing various scripts, and then this happened to be the first chance we got to really pitch a true original one. And 5 years later, finally finished.
Love that.
Similar to Mark, Juel just kind of one day randomly in the coffee shop told me what the log line was. And he had some other title. I don't know what it was, but he was like,
Hanging there.
yeah, regular. He was going to take, I was like, you ain't changing the title, bro. Like, they go on Tyrone, it's about socks. I said, it's a laundromat. And so, I just begged him to let me hop on, and these guys pulled me in, and we, ended up pitching around town. That was just going to get in
I like that.
Yeah, supervisor being the story, that's weird.
Well, yeah, I came to know Juel when, I think James Franco taught a feature class here at one point. And there were 8 different directors. I remember, nothing was him. He was reading a little bit over the curriculum. And that's the first time we, worked together. And then, after, Rob and Dominique, I know Rob, I was his essay in 546. And Dominique, I knew through other USC people that I met, throughout, just networking and stuff. And yeah, Stephen, I knew you through being your essay.
Yeah.
And the book program.
Yeah. A lot of things. Yeah.
Oh, wow, that's cool. How we met, actually, so we were in the same cohort, Juel and Tony and myself. And we met through a program they don't even do anymore. Remember with Seminar? When we first started? That was the best class. And people hated on that class for some reason, but basically the first semester at USC, they took all the schools and put them in a class together. So animation, interactive, production, and we had it was kind of like an Easter egg kind of class. But it was cool because I would have never had the relationships, and these people became very, very close friends. And when I was in my thesis year, Juel and Tony worked on my feature film. It was like a hybrid film. And they did work, and it was like, they didn't even know if the work could even be used, because we were doing like this visual effects film or whatever, but they just showed up. And I remember always saying in my mind, like, someday I'm gonna be a chance to help them, because they just like showed up and just like gave themselves to this film. And I was like, when we all caught up for lunch one day, just randomly, and they were like, yeah, I'm about to do the movie, I need the storyboard artist. I was like, I'm done, you know? And then I ended up just flying out there and just, yeah, I just flew out to set because you should fix some shit. I'm like, whatever needed, I just like paid my way to fly out there and just help them out. And yeah, it's a big opportunity. So, and then I met everybody else. I met Steven through them, and I met Mark through the school somehow too. So yeah, it all worked out.
Being black at USC.
Yeah.
Right. Yes, I know that. It's a small world, it's a small world. Wonderful experience, but it's funny because I know you all differently, sir. I don't remember if we connected. Yours was way before mine, I think. Stephen, I also didn't get to go to school with you, but then we met later. And now I met you. But everybody, it's so amazing because I kind of know you all individually, I know your stories, and it's kind of dope how you came together. And I hope you're all understanding and feeling this because it's possible and it's very cool. And like, not everybody even knew each other and went to school, but it's through everybody else, right? 6 degrees, no, 3 degrees separation, 6 degrees. Yeah, we don't count. So I want to know, like, tell me the Netflix of it all, like developing when I was at Netflix when Juel came in, and they were just starting to develop it, I was like, what? He was like, what? Anyway, that was great. It was fun. It was awesome. But, you know, the Netflix of it all, I mean, you all have different positions, and, you know, Netflix is really cool. I know people would like to know maybe what the experience was like, how the development, you know, process was a little bit. You don't have to give the whole story, but a little bit of sexy would be nice.
Don't tell me.
When we pitched it, like, around town, they always ask you at the end of the pitch, like, how much you think the movie's gonna cost. And I hated that question. Yeah, to prove that no one knows anything in Hollywood, we always said 8 to 10 million. No one batted an eye at it. Everyone's like, yeah, that sounds about right. Ended up being many times more than that. We when it came down to it, we were lucky. We had like several places that wanted it, and there were like various degrees of commerciality, I guess, right? There was A24, there's Lionsgate, there's Netflix. We ended up going with Netflix because at the time Netflix didn't have a cast list, so they were going to greenlight the film whether or not we got a big star. That turned out to be somewhat like dubious, but it paid off that we ended up going with Netflix just because we ended up shooting 2020, like during the second spike of COVID, you know, and there probably isn't another studio that had the deep enough pockets to actually bring back a production of like this size during COVID. So we kind of like lucked out in that sense. The scale of Netflix did help us.
You might have been deterred otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone in this room wants a theatrical release, you know, and that's always the impediment to like going to Netflix. Netflix knew that, and so they gave us a theatrical release, and that's one of the things that ultimately swayed us to go there. But like I said, it turned out to be kind of fortunate with how the world like imploded when it did.
Yeah. They didn't really bat an eye when we hit a lot of snags because of COVID and different challenges here and there, and they stepped up the plate at every turn to make sure that we had everybody on set was safe, that we had what we needed to tell the story as best as we could with what we were given, and they gave us theatrical release, and we were really excited to see the film be debut in over 100 countries in 2 days.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really good to hear. I mean, it's very challenging, and I always wondered how difficult that was, and was it longer because of it? And like, I hope nobody got sick. You know, everybody it seems everybody's alive, I know that, which is, oh, no more. That's it?
COVID.
Oh,
Maybe people.
Okay,
Okay,
I don't know.
got shut down multiple times.
okay. So,
We got the full NBA bubble experience for sure.
so it was challenging. Now that first, okay, they call you first time director, right? I know you've directed before, right? But this is your first, let's call it your first feature, right? How crazy was that? Like that, you had a lot of extra things to manage, right? Not just, you had a lot of extra things to manage and nobody would think.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely, it was, don't get me wrong, it was fun. Like, it was like, because it kind of became like movie summer camp. Everybody was sequestered. And so the crew got really cool with each other, and like the crew got really close, like probably closer than normal, especially considering that nobody knew what anybody looked like. Right. And yet everybody was just like, 'cause we always had the specter of like Marvel just picking out crew, but they never like skipped out. And like we were kind of the only like movie in Atlanta that was in a bubble. So everyone else could do, without being in red zone, yellow zone, green zone, yeah, all of the
Yeah,
zones.
the songs they came up with, yeah.
But because, also because I mean, a lot more being sequestered was part of it, but they also got like really cool. So I think the process, even though it was hard in terms of just like discomfort level, because you got the mask and the goggles and it's cold. But I think it was fun because it was, I mean, even at the time, we probably never have another, if it let us make another movie, it probably won't be nothing like that, you know what I mean? So there was a level of camaraderie, I think, I mean, we had like drink vouchers at the hotel, like it was just weird shit happening, and so like, there was just all these like weird stories that were happening behind the scenes, and just, that were a complete byproduct of the fact that we shot it in COVID, and so I think we all kind of aware of how weird that the process was, and obviously post it's its own thing entirely.
Did you have to do remote, Sarah? Did you have to do?
In the beginning, yes, and then, it just did not work, to even attempt to do director's cut, I mean, it never really works.
Okay.
A director's cut remote from somebody, and I think most productions figured that out at the time. So for a while, it was just me and Juel in the room, and then they figured out they had to actually put the whole post crew in there, because it's pretty involved, with VFX, and there's like lots of elements, and a composer pulled up too, for a while, we needed him to be around too.
First of all, I love hearing that it's fun. And I hate hearing that movies were, I was like, oh, I'll never do it again, it was the worst. So at all of our challenges, and it was, and then and then they're like, and then we're gonna do it again, it'll be great. But like to hear that, yeah, it was hard, but it was so fun. And you guys got so close, I think that, I love that. I love having a wonderful set, I love having a good experience. I like being able to sit next to people that I like. And I can still talk to after the movie's over, so I think that's a wonderful benefit.
You and I like talked before we we drove down to Atlanta, and it was COVID, so we didn't fly, we made a road trip and that stuff. And, we talked about that, how like, it's difficult to be Star Wars anymore. There's just so much stuff, there's so much content nowadays, that like, it's hard to make something that has like a true, like a generational cultural impact. And so we try to like tell ourselves like, let's just make sure we have fun doing it and like make sure everyone around us has fun. Because if we can do that, then it doesn't matter if the movie becomes big or not, or it gets lost or whatever, that you know, it's a good time like doing it.
That's the thing. I think that's a testament, and I can't wait. First of all, I feel like you're gonna do more. All of you are gonna do. You've already done some great things. I can talk about your previous, like a lot of your guys' previous work, but from this one, I know you're gonna do more because I can spend time with each of you. I know I don't have that kind of time actually. How am I on time, anybody? Yeah, okay, I'm okay. So I wanted to get into a little bit about this was. Like I was saying, it's very wild, right? The producing must have been a little bit out of control. I know the storyboards must have been fun and nutty. So I just talk to me about a little bit about what each of you did and your highs and lows. Like I'm all about what was my greatest moment. And low doesn't mean bad. Low might mean challenging, or low might mean just I was sad that day. But your highs and lows, because this movie doesn't come together without all of the people involved, and it was an incredibly involved movie. And I would like to hear, you know, your guys' work, like, what's good, what's hard?
So I was executive, covering the film for Macro, and I'd say, like, when you're working at a production company and you're working with artists, you're trying to make sure that the artists have everything they need and that everybody is aligned in the vision for the film and everyone understands what it is that is the director's vision. And we had a lot of start and stop. Like, we had an actor attached originally who would be Fontaine. That person fell out to go do a Marvel movie, and then we got John Boyega, and then we got Parris, and then we got Jamie Foxx. And once we assembled our team, we were off to the races, and then COVID happened, and then we got shut down. And this happened over the course of like 2 years. Like, it wasn't overnight that we spent the time trying to, like, make sure we had the right pieces, that the right chemistry that aligned with the vision and would make the movie that Juel and Tony had in their heads. And so that was a really challenging part. But honestly, the coolest part was going to set every day, even though, you know, weren't sure what was going to come your way that day that you had to solve, and try not to, like, let Juel find out about it. Try to handle as much without getting him involved so you can focus on the creative. But the joy was, like, really getting to watch somebody who I consider a friend, you know, direct this big movie that is completely, you know, wild and outrageous, and I think breaks the model of what Hollywood says first-time directors can do. And to do so with so many resources behind it, it was just, like you said, it's fun.
That's awesome. I think my high is like a very general one, which is just we were walking around. We have like 3 sound stages, and we were just walking through the sound stages as they like were building the sets. And the first time we went on, the first set that they built was Jamie Foxx's hotel room, and everyone that worked on it was so talented, like incredibly so. And just being able to like walk into like a room that didn't exist before, you know, it was something pulled from our imagination. And seeing like all the effort they put into it was amazing. Like the trash in Jamie's trash can in that room was like character specific. And like that level of detail, like care, like there was never going to be a shot of the trash can. But, like the production design and the set dresser and everybody like thought that deeply about the story. It was just really cool.
I think I'll give you a low since it's not low as it was negative, it was just really, really hard. Just trying to figure it out, honestly. Because, you know, that shot in the movie where you know, the camera lifts above all the pods, and you see like infinite amount of pods. Right? We didn't have infinite amount of pods. Right? So, we had to figure out how to make it feel that way without you know, breaking the thing. And every time we came up with something like that's switching. Like, it was me always say that. It was like Robert used to say that sometimes. When I come to do it, something like, hey, we just do it. We gotta figure out how to do it. And honestly, it was just literally a full brain trust to figure out between our production designer Franco, our DP Kensing, Juel and Tony, all of us. Brian, that's what Brian threw out, actually, was because of that damn clone.
Yeah, Brian.
We couldn't figure it out. And you know, what you see now is literally smoke and mirrors. Like, literally, there's giant mirrors, literally, and fog, et cetera, right? And lighting that give you the gag of when you look down the path between Kiefer and Teyonah, or between, you know, Jamie and Teyonah, et cetera. You see infinite line of sight. This is literally a mirror down at the end, right? So
That's nice.
yeah. That was a low, but it became a high because it actually looked great. Yeah.
See, that's what I was gonna say as a producer, that, for me, when I'm producing, that challenge, the impossible one, where you figure it out, like, it might take you the whole, it might be the worst thing that you ever feel and have to do in your life, but once you get it, it's like, you feel like a guy. You feel like, what's the blue guy from, because you're like, I've solved the answer to the universe. That's very impressive.
The other thing too, that clone, we went over that a lot too, because it was super technical actually. You you couldn't fail at that in production, because it was like, there's just so little time to get that right. And I remember there was a snag, I had to stay up. I stayed up and just like ordered it, and y'all went through like 5 a.m. just figuring out a new.
We were fucked, so we had to.
Yeah, we had to figure out. I remember that. I was just in the hotel room, like sequestered, just sketching up a bunch of, like, all right, this might work, this might. And the whole point was just to give as many shots with the basket as possible in terms of shots and ideas. And so we, that part I remember, that was a big, like, we had a top-down schematic, and like character A go here, character B go
Before,
forward.
like, the actual, like, diorama, they wouldn't pay for us to, like, make a scale model, so we had to, like, have an architectural overhead.
Okay, that's,
Video game, remember the video game?
What really happened was, we, this ain't my answer to the question, but I thought we talking about the cool. We had a plan, but the shots took too long.
Yeah.
And so we boarded it, and we, had this schematic, and we had a couple of clusters and a bunch of mirrors, so we had to design all the shots around like the 3 pods that existed.
that's
And
crazy.
so, this one, and then you had 2 half of over here, so you could, with the mirrors, you could make anything kind of look like it had depth of field, like deep space, but what we didn't realize was like how much screen time the way we blocked the scene on paper, because the set wasn't ready to the day we shot it. We shot it like 3 or 4 days left in the whole shoot, and so we never got to see the set till we showed up. We put the camera, and was like, all right, then let's do it. And then it was like, this took a minute to walk from here to here. It's over, what I mean? So that's when, Brian started feverishly sketching, me and Tony stayed. We knew we were screwed,
Yeah.
So we ended up basically like sitting Brian drawing up storyboards, and me and Tony walking around with our phone. Like, we just shot the sequence in real time and like cut it together that night. And then we were able to come the next day and like have a slightly smarter plan.
Yeah, that's brilliant. You guys came through. Some people could be crying, like, we can't do this.
And we weren't stressed. I mean, people were stressed, but I would give a shout out. Osahan used to do meditation.
Oh yeah.
For the whole crew. Before every day. I remember that. I was like, I never seen that. When I came to set, I was like, wow. Everybody was just like tapped in. Osahan had everybody just like zenned out before they started work.
And then turned on the trap music after.
Okay, so that seems like so much fun. Even in the wild times, that seems like a lot of fun. Y'all, it's really impressive to just hear. First of all, you guys, it seems like you work together like magic. Like the ability to come together and see, what we can't do, and then let's figure it out. You're going through with cell phones, you're doing mirrors. And I was gonna ask you, did you have to change the blocking? And yes, you did.
Many times we had to change the blocking. I mean, I think like the other low, there's like a couple very distinct lows, at pre-production and production, post-production.
Yeah.
I feel like they talked about a lot of the production lows, and Mark talked a little bit about pre-production lows. But like post-production, I would say, was the hardest part of the movie, by far. It's harder than it can. It was harder than like actually making it. Like, that was, like, I would say the low was the second test grading. Yeah. Yeah, all around that shit.
Now, why?
Because, like, I don't know who off on Netflix is here either, Shout out to Netflix. They showed us a lot of love. We had an elongated post, and there was a little Cold War period in post. Editorial staff versus studio, the Cold War post, and, I'm sure we're the first ones.
Yeah.
And second test period was a virtual test period, so it was like interesting. And it was probably the most demoralizing shit I've ever seen. There were people that had TVs on in the background. There was
it was like, one guy was watching sports while watching a movie, you could see it.
We got 61 in school. And then we, so our score went down 20 points. Our first test score was right after the director's cut. It had no difference. It was stupid rough. But the play grade was a lot of like,
That was live though.
a lot. The play grade, there was like a lot of confusion stuff because they experimented with how much to take out, and so you understood the feedback from the first test screening because it's like, oh, I understand. Ah, shit, we should put that line there. Whatever. It's like, the feedback made sense and you could it was actionable. But the second one, like the biggest question, they need to know who Tyrone is. You're like, oh shit, where's Fontaine's mama? You're like, oh no, these are the number 1 and 2 questions. Who is Tyrone? And where's Fontaine's mama? And it was like, oh, just seeing, just how it's consumed and how it most likely will be consumed by a large amount of people. It's like, that was just very demoralizing because all the execs were so confident. And so it's also, and it's you have this anxiety, I don't know, this score's going up 10 points. You're like, maybe, and then it drops by 20. And you're like, oh shit. And so that was by far the single most
We're watching faces on the screen. We're texting you need to add this person to the Q&A after. No, we don't want that to into their sleep. But
it's also a lot of ADR and subtitles. There's a watermark. You can't even read the subtitles. So people are getting confused by stuff that we we haven't done the ADR yet. So it's rough version of the movie. So it's a lot of confusion things that you're not even sure if they even read the ADR. You know what I mean? And so it was,
And well, also, it's not, everybody's watching on TVs, right?
yeah, I don't know how to
Oh, it's laptop, yeah, that's even.
TVs have shit playing. Wow, it's going on.
I watch them while they watch
Yeah,
them.
you watch them watching, so it's a very uncomfortable experience.
How uncomfortable, I did not, okay, I can see that. I can see that being a very, without recommending.
Yeah, that's education.
It's a everything learning experience, feels like it hurt a little bit though, I get that.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, the high, this was about high. I was just hanging out with.
But that's very, I don't know, it's very telling and it's very good to know. I mean, for young filmmakers to understand that there's gonna be these moments, right? And but you still push through, you still work as a team, you still figure it out, and you still roll up something amazing, right? That's the goal of it. Don't let it get you to the dark place, but ouchie, yeah. Ouchie indeed.
You know what it is?
Yeah. And Sarah, what was your highlight?
I mean, it's gotta be the same one as Juel.
It's fucking boring, but yeah.
The hardest part about that also is being able to protect his vision. When you know that it worked in the first place, and you know that it tested well in the first place, and you've got all your smart friends who come and watch it and tell you it's fine, right?
Yeah.
And it was very difficult to sort of be friends, which we were all friends, right? And then try to come with our team against the studio. And it really felt I didn't know if it was a metal in the face or something, but at the end of the day, kind of. But it's you just have to find a way to hold on to what you think is right. And I would say the high that did come out of that, no matter what they did put us through to see what other versions of the film can work. At the end of the day, you still ended up with the same movie really, that we had 2 years ago. So
That's what I love to hear that. Testament to the team and testament to your vision. Know what you want, and stick with it. It's hard because not everybody's gonna agree with you. I can imagine how difficult it was to fight back and forth with the studio to, stay the course. So, Mr. Rhodes, highs and lows. Oh, you already told me. Is that the one are we talking about the clone room?
Yeah, my lows are not even close to where, I remember coming to post and seeing that and just calling up Juel months into it, hey, what you doing? You know where I'm at. I'm in the same place in this editing room. And they were there for a long, long time, so, but no, my experience was super positive, and you know, it was the on production. There's always obviously these like intangibles that you can't predict, and they had some big ones that I didn't see coming, but no, it was overall it was a really positive experience.
Well, it seems like it was for everybody. You guys, your energy up here, you're still chill with each other, you're joyful, you're happy to see each other, and you're still enjoying the film being shown to audiences, and I'm enjoying you being here, enjoying this, and enjoying the movie. I'm hoping I'm asking good questions. I'm asking good questions. You might get a chance to ask questions. It's time. All right, I guess my time is done. I've enjoyed myself. We will continue. Right now, I would like to open it up to the beautiful, amazing audience that came to see this. And you're already like, don't even finish.
I'm ready.
Don't even finish. What's up? I'm gonna walk around because I like to do that. Here you go.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Question? Oh, I'm, okay,
Just
sir.
want to say congratulations on an amazing film. Thank y'all for coming out and like sharing it with us. We really appreciate it. As a lot of us here, I'm trying to get my first feature made. So would love to see if you could go like step by step how you got it to like start pitching and things of that nature. Like once the script was at a place that you felt was right, what were the next steps? And thank y'all again.
Here's the picture without a script.
Nice.
The process kind of started like a few years earlier. But really, you know, something that I would say is like the waterfall tour kind of started the process. You know, I think we got to know a lot of people, and I thought we had like good relationships with a lot of people. Few places we had really good relationships with, and that was just from a screenwriting point of view. And once we got our first like real screenwriting job, that's when the places that we met, you know, just not that they don't take you seriously, but like, you know, you need something to validate you in the eyes of most. So when you think you have a good relationship, but then, you know, something, you know, you get lucky, you get a job, and then you really see like, okay, so, okay, I got good relationships with XYZ places, and, you know, a couple of people who were really cool with us and knew really well, really liked that idea. But we were at the scarcity mentality of like, just take every job we can get, because in our shoes. And so a friend of ours who was at Columbia, he was like, man, just come pitch it, you know, like, it's hard about script, just pitch it, you know. So we had another pitch for, we were pitching an open writing assignment, or something that we ultimately didn't get. And, you know, he works in the same, it was Columbia where he worked. So, you know, he kind of twisted our arms to come pitch to him. And because we had, you know, we just go on all these meetings and met all these people who, again, didn't necessarily have anything to offer us. By the time we were going to pitch to him, all these people, I want to hear it. So, like, you know, we had a relationship with all the studios randomly, you know. Even though we didn't necessarily have a working relationship with all the studios, but we knew people from all the studios. And so when it came time to pitch it to Columbia, and Warner Bros. Wanted to hear it, and Apple wanted to hear it, and like all these other places wanted to hear it. And so, you know, I think it really got set up in a lot of ways in that you know, 2-year period, getting out of USC, where we weren't getting no motion, you know what I'm saying, where we were meeting all these people, and it was just like making these relationships, and I think in large part it was screenwriting that got us the opportunity, right? So we like Tony mentioned before, we did a lot of screenwriting, competition, you know, like applications, and we got lucky and got into one of the, you know, got a fellowship, and then from there it was just, you know, kind of working the material, you know, and just having a breadth of, I mean, the most practical answer I would say is like having a breadth of material that we could keep put out into the universe, and then somebody likes something, you know, so we had like 6, 7 scripts. After like a year, we wrote like 4 or 5 in a couple of months. We did a different application we did Sundance, we both did our own TV shows, we both did our own features. Independent, Universal Fellowship, we did a different script for each one in a different genre. And all those things randomly came back, because some people would be as a comedy writer, some people would be as a drama writer, and some people would be as a TV writer. And I think that movie made really, because that, it seems like we skipped a lot of steps if I tell you how the movie got made, really, because it was just incredible. I had pictures, all right, people wanted it, but the movie was in that position really goes back to like the screenwriting side of it, just like writing as much as we could and being as uncomfortable as we could in terms of like working with John. We were writing shit we never did at USC, just to kind of try to stretch. And so I think in that process of like, I think the movie really got made in 6 months after we graduated, realistically, because that's when we had the most extreme level of output. And I think it was one of those scripts that we wrote happened to, get the Universal Fellowship and so on and so forth.
Thank you.
Okay, that's, all right, this question, hello.
So when making the film, what do you think which movies influenced you, and can you see their influence within the film?
I can't see shit in the film no more. There are a lot of movies that influence us, if you want.
I don't know, I mean, obviously, like, they live for plot elements. There's a lot of, like, Coen Truman Show, same. There's a lot of, like, Coen Brothers we talked about, or, like, P.T. Anderson, just in terms of the kind of, like, dry nature of some of the humor. Obviously, there's blaxploitation films, like, that's the most stylistically obvious. We tried to make it a mashup, and we wanted to make something that we had seen before, so we just pulled from as many, like, disparate things as we could.
I think that was it, and Tony said it was like a plot level of it where it's like kind of Truman Show and They Live. Then there was a, more of a tone side of it, which was more like Boogie Nights and Big Lebowski and Jackie Brown. And then there was the world building side of it. We kind of got into the nuts and bolts of it with Franco, our production designer, our cinematographer. And that was actually It Follows, in terms of like making this world that like had all these anachronisms in it, and it was kind of out of time, so to speak. I think like Napoleon Dynamite and It Follows, but like they weren't period pieces, but they felt like period pieces. And I think like I always loved that. I loved It Follows. I always thought about that. We would talk about, we were just writing and talking about just the world in general. Just thinking about like where I'm from. There's just a lot of shit that hasn't been updated. It's like, old ass Burger King ain't been painted in 30 years, shopping centers that keep the Hobby Lobby becomes the Michaels, becomes like a bootleg version of Michaels. It's like, nothing, no pizza place can stay in the same place for more than 2 years. We just go from one bootleg pizza place to another. When I was a kid, it was actually a Domino's. It just got progressively worse over time. Where you from? I'm from Tuskegee. I'm not shitting on Tuskegee. I'm from Tuskegee. But I think that just felt like it just got lost in time. A lot of stuff from like where I'm from. I think It Followed was a movie that did a great job of like creating that sense of disorientation.
I was gonna say I did love that. First of all, the genre mashup, I got you. The genre mashup and, I'm good. The genre mashup and the world and the way you built it and wrote it is phenomenal. And then when I'm looking at it and I'm sitting in there and I'm like, I don't need to know what exact time and place I am because I feel it and I understand it and I'm sitting in it and I've seen it. You know what I mean? And it felt familiar and disorienting at the same time. Well done.
We wanted to polar express eyes in the movie.
And you did. There you go.
Absolutely. Going off that same note, because we were sitting and I'm like, football.
Oh, what the fuck is this? Wait a minute, that song just came out. My question is, in that same vein, since it took so long to create the film, was the physical setting always in that place? Or did it go from a large city to a small town? Was it always the same nondescript but descript city that could be anywhere USA?
Yeah, that's the script. Like, it was always meant to be that kind of archetypal, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think, to your point, like, there are different buckets of, like, and so the music that people listen to, other people in the world, is always, like, more modern. You know, the music that Fontaine listens to is always, like, something that mellows them out. It's always from the 80s, the 70s, so you listen to Blackbird, listen to, like, older, more mellow shit. The decor is always like kind of in the 80s, you know what I mean? I think, but outside of like Fontaine and St. Charles, everybody, you know, we did like all of this just random like background work. So Yo-Yo got an iPhone. She's not, you know, she's not a clone. And so like, you know, her clone said, like, you know, they can have an iPhone. I don't gotta have flip phone. It's like, you know,
The lab was like
underground.
50s, however, like 1950s.
Yeah, we was looking for that, going for that, like, yeah. But even beyond that, we just like like nickel pop comics and like World's Fair aesthetic, where they thought the future would be the shit. And, like, they were designing it for style as well. And where like now it's just kind of like the most ergonomic form is what you're gonna get with a computer. But you know, like we try to think about it above ground, below ground. I mean, that was always kind of part of the design of like the anachronisms can you fit together, and like what period is the clothes, what period is the music, you know, who's listening to what music, and you know, what part of this, you know, what part of this is from the 70s in terms of the external world, and then what part of it is from like the Cold War period era in terms of like the underground.
That's amazing. We only have time for two more, and I already got the two locked down. I apologize. I know you're gonna be mad at me, but I gotta say. And then we got the clothing. Don't hate me.
I used to work at outside. I used to be ready for these to be over. I had to lock the rooms.
I have a question. I can't believe no one's asked about it, but how do you see race in this film? Because I've seen a lot of, have you seen Jordan Peele's Get Out? I've seen a lot of like, I mean, there's like, it's a government organization, right? Yeah, it's just a bunch of basically black people being abused by white people. It's kind of,
I blame Tony.
no, but have you seen race in this film?
How do you want to answer that?
How does he see race in the film?
How do you, okay. How do you see race in the film? So is your question more, is this supposed to be a film about race? Because as far as how you see race in the film, they are seen as they are presented.
It's not.
You're trying to make a statement with race.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's white people doing bad shit in the movie, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But that wasn't why we sat down to make it, though. I think at the end of the day, I can tell you something, but like what you interpret from it, though, you know what I'm saying? Like what you interpret, if you interpret, nobody's interpretation is wrong. Let's put it like that. You know what I'm saying? So like, I didn't set out to make a statement on race. See white people doing bad shit in the movie. So if you see that and you think that's what I think, I have no problem with that either.
With you, like, I mean, like, if that's a bad thing, it makes you feel like that is a bad thing. I
think it's, I don't have as intelligent of an answer as you probably think I got. I was just trying to do some ratchet shit, you know. I don't have like the cool answer, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't have it because we were writing and we're like, what do we like? What do we think is cool? You know what I'm saying? What would we want to go see? You know what I'm saying? Like the Uncle Sam of it all, You know what I'm saying? Obviously, I'm from Tuskegee, and, you know, famous experiment that happened in Tuskegee. So we could get into it. We could, you know, there's some historical undertones, you know, in the movie that are relevant to where I'm from, you know what I'm saying? But I think that was on the forefront of what we were going for, we were making it. But it's obviously there. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you can't escape it, but it's not and there are people who made movies about race that are racial commentary to make that point and to have that discussion. This was not that movie, yet that discussion can still happen because it's a part of the movie.
You know, I mean, I think I remember somebody in Turkish said this is America. So you the bad guy right now, yeah. I'll defend yourself, man.
We'll say this though, we did we obviously like, it's a good question, like, because it is like baked into the movie. But we were very conscious of the fact that like, we went to film school, man, we're not sociology professors. We don't think we're smarter than anyone that sees the movie, you know, so we really did try as much, we did try to not make the movie didactic. You know, like, it wasn't supposed to have a stated like message that we were trying to get across. We would like it to be like, you know, a tool that people can like go home and talk about stuff. But ideally, you finish the movie and there's not like a single sentence you can say like, oh man, they wanted us to know this.
And it's in conversation with Get Out and Sorry about You. You know, like, we weren't in a position to sell it, but it predates Get Out. Like, in terms of like conception, we pitched it to like Josh McLaughlin and Brian Smiley, but we didn't have emotion, so it's not like we could make it when we conceptualized it, if that makes sense. And obviously, when Get Out came out, that definitely influenced us. Because it wasn't written by the time Get Out came out. So you obviously gonna have that in the back of your mind when you're applying it. You're gonna go out of your way to try to make it feel as distinct as possible as soon as Get Out comes out, you know what I'm saying? Because you don't want it to feel like it's derivative of Get Out. And any black person who makes a movie with white people in it, it's always gonna be derivative of Get Out for the rest of the time. It is what it is, you know what I'm saying? But, you know what I'm saying, you do your best to you know, carve out your own little bit of identity in it, you know.
Nice.
I wonder what it says. Get Out meets
Friday.
That's what we say in the film. I know y'all hated that. No one said get
They said,
I love, you know what, that was still a brilliant, and you don't have to be a sociologist, you kind of just have to live in the world. That was still a brilliant answer because you can't get away from it, yet you can be I think as open and as beautiful. The fact that this movie can have that conversation without being that the only conversation that it has, it speaks volumes, I think, to the work that you did. And our last question of the night, no pressure.
Hi, my name is Shoshana Rogers. I attend Morgan State University, so I'm from Baltimore, Maryland, but I'm here on a fellowship, Baltimore, you already know. I'm here on a fellowship called HBCU Next. I thought the film was amazing. I thought that y'all really did y'all thing. I guess my question would be about the cinematography. I thought the cinematography was beautiful. It captured everybody on screen very well. I think everything was thought out, especially for Black people. I think sometimes the cinematography would be a little iffy, but everybody's skin was vibrant, everybody's hair, it looked amazing. So I wanted to know, like, what was the relationship with the cinematographer? What was that process like? How did you find him? And how did y'all, like, end up with, like, this beautiful piece at the end?
I'm sorry, this is a double whammy. My name is Imani Moen. I'm a sophomore screenwriting student at Morgan State University as well. I'm from New York, so New York is a little bit better than Baltimore. And I love the writing in this film. Like, it really just had me laughing all the time and super engaged. And I just wanted to know your thoughts and your perspective and your advice on being a Black screenwriter in this industry where you don't really see many Black screenwriters like this telling such a powerful story. Just your advice on that. Thank you.
Okay, HBCU.
Yeah.
Very difficult question.
That's a quick two on it, okay. far as cinematography, you know, that is kind of Ken saying, and you realize like these cinematographers can do a lot. You know, he shot Deadpool. For that, he shot Dark Fate. Very different looking movies from each other, even. But I think a lot of that, for how the movie is, you know, I gave him some gobbledygook and he translated it into something that was palatable. So I would love to, you know, act like I'm, you know, take credit for what Ken did. But Ken was the grown up on set. So I cinematographer he was a beast. We would have made our days without him, to be honest. And we had a lookbook and like Tahito and great recruits, and we had all of these photographers. We had William Eggleston, and we had all these photographers who like the movie to look like this. And I told him, like, you know, I want the movie to look like you found like a laser disc in the attic of your daddy collection, you know, from like the 80s, or you found a VHS tape from the 80s, and you know. And it just was recorded off of, you know, public broadcasting, so it didn't even really have a label on it. But like somebody wrote in like a Sharpie that it was called a Clone Tyrone, and you just put it in with movie shot in the 70s, but then reprinted on VHS in the 80s. Make that make sense, kid. And so Ken was like, God, you know, so he had like all these tricks, and you know, we did a lot of camera tests, and we weren't able to, I wanted to shoot a 16 millimeter. It was like, hell no. So we did the next best thing we could do, which is a film scan back. We shot a digital, we printed it to film at PhotoCam. And so a lot of the process was Ken, you know, lighting it, picking the right super sharp lenses, because it gets a lot more shit in film we get if we shot it straight to film. And also our production designer, Franco, because a lot of it is a collaboration between our cinematographer and our production designer to get the cinematography. Even though it's, you know, it seems like it's just a DP, but like it was him in conversation with our production designer that really kind of created that look, and him being very comfortable like shooting in dark spaces. I wanted it to be like super dark in the studio, like, we need to buy this shit up. And, you know, I think like a lot of our references, he was just able to, you know, condense into something that you know, feel cohesive, you know, and a lot of that, you know, all of that credit goes to Ken. So, you know, all I had to do was say, like, I like these pictures, you know what I'm saying? I would like it to be like this. And Danny, they're our gaffer, they was able to create that. And when it came to like, just the shots, when Ken would just sit in the room and just like walk it out with Tony and literally just block it, you know, before we went there, you know, before we went to set, and really just walk through the shots and just talk shit together and just in the apartment and just visualize it. And at that, once he kind of knew the shots and, you know, we were talking about the shots, I could really just leave him alone, and I knew that he would bring it back. You know. In terms of, you know, a black screenwriter, I mean, I think it's kind of a little bit relevant to your question in terms of with your advice. What my advice would be, which is, I mean, this is relevant to anybody, you know, not just black folks. You know, I think being uncomfortable in terms of the material that you're working on and working on areas of weakness that you feel like, and not being very precious about if it's good enough. I think what ends up happening is that, like, you write 4 or 5 scripts and the 5th one is just better than the first one. You know what I mean? And you might not have actively been aware of how it even got to be better, but we would start having a Rolodex of shit, things we got stuck on, and then you would write different genres, and then we, oh, you know, we had a similar, you know, quagmire in this other script. And it was a totally different genre, had nothing to do with this genre, but somehow the way we got out of a certain plot hole. You know, you'll always have plot holes. You know. There's plenty in this, but you know, but I think it was, you know, I think it was the totality of the, you know, the experience that we gained that just started to like build the momentum, you know what I'm saying? So we wrote it and it's like we do a draft and then move on to write something else. And then maybe we might come back and do another draft. And at some point, you know, people just started responding to it. And I mean, like, navigating it as a Black writer, because I don't know what it's like to navigate it as a Black writer. Like, my experience and Tony's experience been, like, identical, you know what I'm saying? Because we write as a team. And so I think a lot of it, you know, is really just the best advice I can give is, like, the more cool your personality is in terms of, like, just being in a room and just being chill and people, like, liking to just hang out and, like, have a conversation with you, the more likely they're going to call you back. We notice, like half of it is how much they like the script and the other half is how much they like you, you know. And so if I could say anything, it would be like, if they were, man, that's cool as hell, you know what I'm saying? Like, if they come out of the meeting, because we have people that we didn't see for 2-3 years, oh man, remember the gentleman y'all came on, we told this crazy story, and, you know, are you interested in X, Y, Z? Well, shit, you know, you remember that, you know. So I think that goes a long way. I'm sorry I have a better answer in terms of, like, specifically being Black, but I don't think it's time, but you know what I'm saying. But I mean, I think the best advice, I mean, honestly, Tony, even though he's not Black, but Tony, I'm rarely Black. Yeah, I think, honestly, though, like, I think the better rapport you have with the people you meet, and if people really liking you, I think that sticks in people's mind more than what you write. Yeah. That is, there you go. That is a beautiful way to end.
I know you have more questions, and I'm so sorry you didn't get to everybody. I want to thank you all for coming. I want to thank they Clone Tyrone, the whole entire team. Everybody, we have so much time over the stage, in this room, in this school, and we have the opportunity to be the next generation of filmmakers. I want to thank you, and this is a wrap.